I can't hear you. Are you ready to laugh? Well, we've got the man for the job, a wonderful comedian who has appeared in Las Vegas, Atlantic City, and The David Letterman Show. He recently did a movie with Jerry Stiller called Excuse Me for Living. Let's have a nice warm welcome for the refreshing comedy of Dale Grand Esquire.
Thank you. What a reaction. What a reception. Instant recognition. No, we can level with each other. You heard the name Dale Grand, you didn't get too excited. In fact, I heard a few people say, who? Doesn't bother me, because let's face it, I am an unknown. Give you an idea how unknown I am. Tonight, I'm at the height of my career in Peekskill. No, but I want to tell no, this is the high point. But I want to say before I start that the amount of people in an audience does not determine the length of my performance. I don't care if there's one person in the audience, I never ever cut my act. Thank you, and God bless you, ladies and gentlemen. Now, this is a big crowd. I did a show, one person in the audience. It was a blizzard 3 years ago, and in New York City, 27 inches of snow. My agent booked me in Buffalo. 27 feet of snow. One person in the audience. The man sat there, listened, laughed, and applauded for 45 minutes. When I finished, I said, thank you so much for staying. He said, I had to. I'm the next act. And then I worked the casinos, Atlantic City, Las Vegas. But you know something? All these casinos, the audiences, they're not paying attention to the act. That's strange. Like I'm at the Showboat Hotel in Atlantic City, couple sitting ringside. The middle of my act, the guy slides under the table. The woman doesn't move. I said, lady, your husband just fell under the table. She says, no, my husband just came in the front door. I find there's a lot of humor in everyday occurrences. Oh, by the way, I just came back from Chicago. Anyone originally from Chicago? Also, Paramount Arts Center with Engelbert Humperdinck. The man's in his 70s. He's still a sex symbol. No matter how old you are, if you're a singer, you're a sex symbol. Like, I don't think a comedian is a sex symbol, but I do attract some women. I'll give you an example. I finished a show, a woman came backstage, gave me a big hug. I never saw the woman before. She says, you know, you're the warmest comedian that I've ever seen. And I thought that was so beautiful, warm. Then I looked it up in a dictionary. You know what warm means? Not so hot. Some women are a little more forward. One actually said to me, do you wear boxers or briefs? I said, depends. I was doing a show in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, or Lancaster. How do you pronounce that? And I'm arguing with my wife. She says, it's Lancaster. I says, no, it's Lancaster. When we go into a place to eat, I said, look, we're going to settle this once and for all. I said to the man behind the counter, where are we? And say it very slowly. He said, Burger King. No matter where I go, I get trouble with pronunciation, and sometimes it's embarrassing. I went to a restaurant the other day. The waitress gave me a menu. She says, what would you like? I said, I'd like a quickie. She says, sir, that's pronounced quiche. I took a cruise to Hawaii. As soon as I got off the ship, I said to the first man, I gotta know once and for all, how do you pronounce it, Hawaii or Hawaii? He said to me, Hawaii. I said, thank you. He said, you're welcome. One thing I love about cruising, you meet people from all over the country. I notice where most people have a tremendous pride in their state, but I think Texans have the most pride. Like everything's always bigger in Texas. It's a true story. I was on a world cruise with a Texan. We're visiting a farm in Australia, one of the ports. This Texan says to the farmer, say, boy, what's that over there? Farmer said, those are watermelons. Texan says, watermelons? Texas, that's the size of our peaches. What's that over yonder? Farmer says, cantaloupes. Texan says, cantaloupes? In Texas, that's the size of our grapes. Just then a kangaroo goes hopping across the field. Texan says, what in blazes was that? Farmer said, what's the matter? Never saw a grasshopper before? You listen to conversations, you get humor. And the more I do that, the more I'm amazed at the dumb questions we all ask each other during the course of a day. Dumb questions. And I do the same thing. Like the other day, I saw a 10-foot truck stuck under a 9-foot bridge. I said to the driver, are you stuck? He says, no, I'm delivering a bridge. I call Allstate Insurance Company. I said, somebody stole my hubcaps. He says, was the car locked? I'm on a subway the other day. A guy comes over to me. He says, are you reading that newspaper you're sitting on? I said, yes. I got up, turned the page, and sat down again. How often someone calls you at the wrong number and they don't believe it's the wrong number? One guy said to me, are you sure? This is a 9699825. I said, have I ever lied to you before? Well, TV commercials, the same thing. A man got on the other night. He says, do you suffer from diarrhea? I said, no, I enjoy it. You really want to hear dumb questions? Go to the emergency ward of any hospital with an emergency. I broke my thumb a year ago. I went to the emergency ward. There's a woman sitting at the desk. She says to me, how will you recommend it to us? I said, by extreme pain. She said, are you from the area? I says, no, I flew in from Chicago to see a thumb specialist. Then they ask a question they always ask. I have no idea why. What was your mother's? Lady, I don't know. When I met her, she was married. Then she says to me, how do you know your thumb is broken? I said, because it's leaning on my wristwatch. Even the police asked dumb question. I'm on a Taconic Parkway the other night, a cop on the loudspeaker. You want to pull over to the side? I said, no, officer, but thanks for asking. Starts to write out a ticket. I'm looking at this. Says, officer, this is a mistake. I was not speeding. He said, I clocked you on the radar. You certainly was. I said, look, I'm going to tell you one more time. I was not speeding. He turns to my wife. He says, does he always argue like that? She says, no, only when he's drinking. Now, they don't even have to be there. They got what they call a radar camera. You familiar with that? It takes a picture of you speeding. They send me a ticket in the mail with a picture of my car. I send them the ticket back with a picture of my check. They send a ticket back with a picture of handcuffs. But I found a way to get out of a ticket on an interstate highway, which is worth the price of admission tonight. Happened to me, New York State Thruway, cop behind me, flashing lights. I don't stop, but I'm not speeding away. Now he gets on a loudspeaker. I still don't stop, but I'm not speeding away. But at this point, he goes ballistic, cuts in front of me, pulls me to the side. Now he comes over to the window. He says, didn't you see those flashing lights? I said, yes. He says, well, why didn't you stop? I said, officer, you're not going to believe this. A month ago, my wife ran away with a state trooper. I thought he was bringing her back. But thank God for the police, the crime, the violence. It happened to me the other night. I got held up by a man who brought his own interpreter. I'm walking, I feel a gun in my back. Man says, arriba las manos. I said, what? The interpreter says, stick them up. I said, stick what up? Interpreter turns to the mugger. He says, como que arriba las manos? Now the mugger turns to the interpreter. He says, no me confundo, es primero trabajo. Interpreter turns to me. He says, do not confuse him, it's his first job. You can't keep your money on you or in banks. My bank, Chase, got robbed the other day. I'm not going to believe this. Man comes in with a gun, puts it to the teller's head, says, give me all the money. She gives him all the money. He says, did you see me? She says, certainly. He shoots her. Says to the guy in back of him, did you see me? He says, of course. So he shoots him. On the way out of the bank, there's a guy standing by the door. He says, did you see me? He says, no, but my wife did. And senior citizens, the crime is going up. I read in the paper, an 89-year-old woman was arrested for selling drugs. When I heard that, I said to myself, where are the parents? You just listen to these conversations. I was in New York City the other day, okay? A woman comes on a bus, gives a driver a transfer. He looks at it. He says, lady, this transfer is from yesterday. She says, that'll give you an idea how long I'm waiting for this bus. Now I see a woman a little on a hefty side with a tight-fitting skirt. She's trying to get on a bus. She lifts up her leg. She can't make it. Reaches behind, pulls the zipper down a little. Starts again with the leg. Still no good. Pulls the zipper down another inch. One more time. Now, I'm behind her. I'm losing patience. I take the woman and I push her up on the bus. She says, well, I never. I don't even know you. I said, I don't know you either, lady, but after you unzip my fly twice. I thought we were good friends. You know, no, I'm working just a few minutes here. I realize this is a pretty sharp crowd, so you'll appreciate this. It's like a little quiz. You walk on the street, a guy bunks into you. What's the first thing you check? That's correct, your wallet. Happened to me in Times Square. A guy bumped into me real hard. I reached behind, no wallet. I gave him a karate stance. I said, hi-ya, ha, give me the wallet. He gave me the wallet, and he ran away. That night, I found my wallet on the dresser. But my wife says to me, you got to work out. You got to build up your body. You never can tell who might be confronting you. So I went to Jack LaLanne, okay? I never saw so many machines in my life. I says, what machine could I use that would impress the girls the most? He said, the ATM machine. I'm happily married for the last 20 minutes. No, I just got married. People say to me, how come you got married? You waited so long. I said, not my fault. My mother's fault. I said, anytime I brought home a girl, she found something wrong with the girl. This one talks too much. This one too quiet. This one too much makeup. This one too plain. This one that. My brother called me aside. He says, Dale, use your head. Bring home someone that looks like mom. So coincidentally, a few months later, I meet someone. Not only looks like my mother, acts, talks, thinks like my mother. I bring her home. You ready for this? My father didn't like her. But I want the marriage to work. So I'm reading books, doing some research, and my wife, she's got a marriage manual, swears by that. Anything she reads, she tells me we got to do. The other day, she runs over. The book says now when we make love, we should talk to each other. It makes for a better relationship. I said to my neighbor, I says, Bill, when you're having sex, do you talk to your wife? He says, only if there's a phone handy. Then she says it's very erotic to rub oil over each other's bodies. That to me is ridiculous. But I keep a can of Mobil 1. And this is an adult crowd. We can talk. I happen to be very good in bed. The girls are laughing. And no, I am, honey. I don't fall out. I stay right in the center. I have guardrails on each side that give me. And above my bed is a mirror. And on the mirror it says, objects may appear larger than they see. One night I actually made love for 1 hour and 5 minutes. Now I remember it was the night they set the clocks ahead. One night I said to my wife, were you faking it? She says, no, I was really sleeping. I says, how come you never tell me about your sexual fantasies? She says, because you're not in any of them. One night I said, she says to me, let's try the missionary position. I said, the missionary position? She says, yes, I'll go to bed, you go to Africa. Marriage is not an easy thing. You got to work at it. I know a man, 50 years, I went to the psychiatrist. He says, my wife is trying to poison me. He said, how long you married? 50 years. I said, I don't think at this time that she's going to stop. I'm telling you, she's trying to poison me. Look, next week, bring your wife. Let me speak to her. A week later, comes back. The wife goes in to talk to the psychiatrist. He's sitting outside. They're in there for 2 hours. After 2 hours, she sends the wife back to the waiting room and brings in the husband. He says, look, I spoke to your wife for 2 full hours. Listen to me. Take the poison. You know, you people have been such a marvelous audience. My time is up, but I want to say one thing to you people. I've done thousands of shows, believe me. But I got to tell you one thing very honestly. Of all the audiences, this audience tonight was the most recent. I love you all. Thank you. God bless.